5 months after a devastating wildfire destroyed roughly 85% of the buildings in Malden and Pine City, federal aid is on the way. Today, funding was approved. We'll break down how this is going to help those communities rebuild.
Special election ballots are due on Tuesday, and more than a dozen school levies are up for a vote. So we're breaking down why they're on the ballot now as opposed to last November.
It's a David versus Goliath story. A Medical Lake cemetery fought back after a gun range was approved right across the street. Now we bring you where the matter stands today.
Tracking another day in the 40s before much colder weather moves in. I'll have your forecast next.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward.
Thank you for being here. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Let's get straight to some breaking news tonight. The Union Gospel Missions Men's Shelter is closed for new intakes effective immediately. The shelter says they've had an outbreak of 70 coronavirus cases since Christmas. Right now, there are 30 active cases and 5 shelter staff are out due to COVID.
Now, they say because of the increase of cleaning, reduced bed capacity, and other factors, staff simply are not able to meet the demands of more intakes. The plan is to reopen the men's shelter to new intakes February 14th after they are able to evaluate the outbreak in their shelter.
Huge news for the towns of Malden and Pine City. 5 months after a devastating wildfire destroyed roughly 85% of those buildings in the towns, the Biden administration today approved federal aid to help them rebuild.
This move triggers the release now of funding from FEMA to help the communities rebuild and recover. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley joins us now live tonight with more on what this really means for those people. Amanda?
Good evening. This is an emotional day for the Malden and Pine City communities. They have waited 148 days for this funding, and in that time, the people have remained strong and positive. The towns of Malden and Pine City have waited 5 months for federal assistance following the massive wildfire that leveled the majority of homes here. Today, these communities finally got the good news. They are approved for public assistance from FEMA. That funding will help rebuild public infrastructure damaged by the fire. This includes power lines, roads, and water and sewage systems. But families and homeowners are still waiting for federal assistance to come through as well.
It's like the sunshine is shining and there's not a cloud in the sky.
I was truly excited, started sharing and commenting.
Some of the people I talked to in Malden today say they feel like 100 pounds has been lifted from their back.
We've had folks come in today and, they've had tears in their eyes. I mean, this is huge. It is the beginning, and we want folks to keep writing their senators and representatives and Governor Inslee and telling them thank you.
The $2.5 million in individual federal assistance for people affected by the wildfires remains under review. Governor Jay Inslee's office confirms it is part of his proposed budget and currently being considered by the state legislature. If the individual assistance is approved, it would be available beginning July 1st.
Baby step, but it is a huge step. We've just got to continue having patience and, like the mayor said, faith.
There has been quite a bit of progress here in clearing away damages from the fire, but the public assistance funding should help the community complete that step in rebuilding. Now, I do have to say, it was just great to see some smiles and just pure joy here in Malden today. These communities have just been through so much, and they really deserve to get some good news. Reporting in Malden this evening, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Amanda, thank you very much. By the way, the Malden Pine City Long-Term Recovery Group has diligently pressed leaders to get this federal aid. Their efforts sought out the help needed to rebuild those communities. One
of those group members explained the public assistance that they got FEMA's approval for is used for infrastructure. So that includes fire and police departments, roads, and some cleanup. But individual assistance from FEMA is still under review, as Amanda mentioned. If approved, it will be a huge help to families trying to rebuild what they lost.
If we get it, it can mean grants up to $33,000 for people who qualify, grants that they won't have to repay for rebuilding a home. And also then there can be, there's a number of programs, housing programs, help, counseling, all kinds of things that come in with IA that would be extremely helpful for my community. If we're denied IA, it would be tough, but we can work with that. There's still options available that open up, doors that open once we're turned down or approved for IA. But we've been, again, waiting for that yes or the no to go forward.
And today, Governor Jay Inslee released a statement following the Biden administration's approval of Washington's major disaster declaration. He said, quote, "This federal aid will help rebuilding public infrastructure that suffered damage during the devastating fire. The money will go toward power lines, roadways, fencing around public areas, and water and sewage systems." His statement reads in part, "Today's approval for FEMA aid by the White House will help get these communities moving more swiftly toward recovery," unquote. The governor also thanked the Biden administration for acting quickly and making this funding available.
But today's major disaster declaration, which we requested last September, will help get these communities moving more swiftly to recovery.
And also in a statement, Eastern Washington Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers also applauded Biden's approval of the federal aid. She had sent 3 letters to President Trump's administration urging approval of Inslee's request. McMorris Rodgers spoke with him personally back in December of 2020. And at the beginning of this year, she also wrote to President Biden in an effort to ensure that Governor Inslee's request would receive attention and approval. McMorris Rodgers visited Malden and Pine City just days after the fire. She said the devastation took her breath away. Her statement today said in part, "The biggest fear I had when I visited was that after the speeches were over and the news cameras were gone, politicians would forget about Malden. I have worked tirelessly since that visit to make sure that didn't happen and to push to get these communities the relief they so desperately need."
Senator Maria Cantwell also released a statement on the approval of the major disaster declaration request for Malden. It reads in part, "No one should play politics with disaster relief. Now is the time to help Malden rebuild with its disaster declaration, which makes FEMA resources available to individuals and public assistance to communities to help rebuild things like roads, bridges, and power lines," unquote.
Well, a lot of progress has been made since the Bab Malden fire ripped through that part of Whitman County, and today was a victory for a community working to rebuild.
But where did this all begin? Let's break down the timeline now. So Monday, September 7th, 2020, Labor Day, the Bab Malden fire sparked at around noon. The towns of Malden and Pine City, which were once some of the largest and fastest growing communities in the region, were just devastated.
By that Wednesday, September 9th, Commissioner of Public Lands Hillary Franz also visited those 2 towns. She promised the mayor there resources would be sent to town.
Then Thursday, September 10th, Governor Jay Inslee toured the impacted area. Inslee met with local first responders, law enforcement, and residents. He vowed to help the city get back on its feet.
And as we said, on that same day, Congresswoman McMorris Rodgers was there visiting Malden and Pine City. At the time, she thanked all who had responded. She also promised that she and her team would work to support all of the recovery efforts.
Then Thursday, September 17th, Commissioner Franz made good on her promise to help communities rebuild. She gifted them a brand new fire truck after their only fire truck was destroyed in the fire.
Now today, nearly 5 months after that devastating fire, President Biden again approving disaster relief for both Malden and Pine City.
So certainly a step in the right direction for the communities that have been struggling to rebuild ever since. We'll keep you posted on that recovery. In the meantime, let's talk weather. Cool, cloudy, dry. The story around here today, but that could all change later tonight.
Sounds like it. We want to send things over now to Tom Sherry for a first look at our forecast. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, it looks like we may see some rain later tonight, possibly even mixing with a little bit of snow, but it won't stick around very long. Take a look at this. We're at 39 degrees, and we were looking at that beautiful reflection on the Spokane River, and we think that's coming off the pavilion, which is right behind my weather information right there. But it is gorgeous right there on the river. 39 degrees, as I mentioned. Wind is out of the south-southwest at 9 miles per hour. It's raining up on Snoqualmie Pass right now. Up at Lookout Pass, they've had some snow, but the road is in pretty good shape. There is a little bit of slush and some snow on the roadway, but no fresh snow as of yet. Matter of fact, the Doppler radar shows that most of the snow is just to the west of Lookout Pass. So if you're going along I-90, you're going to run into a little bit of light snow pretty much from eastern Kootenai County towards Shoshone County. We'll look for an overnight low of 32. Again, we talked about a few showers forming after 9 o'clock tonight, but it'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow with a daytime high of 44. For the weekend, I've got a chance of rain and snow showers on Saturday, colder and cooler on Sunday with a daytime high of 37. I'll check the rest of your 7-day forecast, which includes some really cold temperatures next week. All that coming up in a few minutes.
All right, looking forward to that, Tom. Thank you. Now to tracking the coronavirus, the Spokane Regional Health District is reporting 146 new cases today. 4 new deaths were also reported today, bringing the total number of deaths to 519 since the pandemic began. 83 people are currently in our local hospitals.
Also, the Panhandle Health District says new COVID-19 vaccine appointments will be available tomorrow. This is for anyone 65 and older, and it is across Kootenai, Bonner, Benawa, Boundary, and Shoshone counties. Information on where to find vaccine clinics can be found at the website that you see right there on your screen, panhandlehealthdistrict.org. Experts say there will be no walk-up clinics, though. You have to make an appointment. And if you have any other further questions, you can also call the Health District at that hotline right there at the bottom of your screen.
And if you would like more information about how to get vaccinated in Washington or North Idaho, you can text the word vaccine to 509-448-2000.